Good evening all, how's it going? It is currently Thursday night and it's 8 o'clock at night, I think, I'm not sure. Anyway, regardless, hello. I finally got word last night after my antics being at the garage that the guy finally managed to get to the garage and he picked up the car. Even though I did navigation as a full-time employment for 7 months, I had managed to send the boy the wrong address. I decided to send him coordinates instead of a postcode or a route or a pinpoint or anything like that. And I'm an idiot. He ended up saying it wasn't a big deal and he called me a loon for, saying it. My biggest apology. I felt really, really bad. But anyway, car's gone. I'll be going back to the garage Saturday, I think, to clean up the mess that I left from having been underneath the car since I moved in, and lots of fluids everywhere, so kind of have to make a start in getting it cleaned and that for when it eventually comes back, which hopefully won't be too long away. Oh damn, actually it's the 17th, wow. From now, I don't actually know what the plan is. We're gonna be waiting until later on in the next couple of weeks to figure out what's gonna happen with the BMW, to figure out whether it's gonna stay down at his, or if it's gonna head straight down to Lochgelly. I highly doubt that, because I know that they charge rent, but unfortunately I'm already pushing my limits as it is. That's a separate conversation altogether with the new job and wage that I just received. That was a lot less than what I anticipated. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to be cleaning a lot of stuff up, organising the parts that are going to be coming with me down to where the car is located right now. The individual parts that I just haven't either managed to get mounted or fabricated or whatever, because I know that where I'm going to be going, I'll be able to do basically, which is huge. Might even have a bucket seat in by then, but maybe, don't know. If I manage to build a set of rails, I can run the bucket seats. Lots of organising, but organising for the right things, because good things are going to happen. So very much looking forward to it. First time out in track proper with everything working. I was actually thinking that if I didn't have enough time and I didn't have the financial ability to buy the caliper brackets, that is the last piece of the puzzle that I need to fit up the hydraulic handbrake. The other thing I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. I'm sure the guy that has the car right now has plenty of experience with the type of setup that most people do. I wanted pure independence from the brakes and the hydraulic handbrake, but worst case scenario, we're plumbing into the rears regardless. So might end up redoing one part of the brake system. I know that the guy who has the car at the moment, he is planning on doing the flare fitting for the brake system so that it can, brake and potentially drive independently, because he's also got a couple of parts waiting down there for me that we've been talking about over the last wee while, but we'll wait and see. A lot of exciting things coming up, very much looking forward to it. So I'm gonna go do some work, I'm gonna do my thing, and see you there. Hello, good morning. It's a beautiful, absolute beautiful day, and it's fortunate but very unfortunate at the same time, especially with the plan that I have today. So with the big news, the car's finally gone. We obviously have no work to do on the car, but that doesn't mean that there's no work to be done. I know that I have a very bad whining coming from the Corsa B, and I'm pretty sure it's from the hub bearing, as well as the fact that the steering is off by a wee bit. But all I know is that there's something no right in the passenger side, then that's steering it very violently to the left anytime I let my hand off the wheel. So yeah, we're gonna address that. Pretty sure I'm gonna make a start on the van as well. I've got some things I need to do for that, but we'll figure it out as we go. one step at a time. Is the plan. We haven't really got much on today. It's a beautiful Saturday. I've had a very long week with trying to decide what the hell I'm doing with work. I essentially have 3 different companies wanting me to work for them, and I have until Monday to decide. I'm pretty sure I've already made my decision, but yeah. Anyway, the plan today is I'm gonna be watching the British Drift Championship, and I'm gonna be going to the shop to go and get munch for myself, and I'm gonna be having a chill day in a way, mainly because the British Drift Championship is on, and it's Pro 2, which is kind of what I'm aiming for. That's kind of a starting goal. So speaking of which, I've actually just had a message from my boy Josh, Josh Duff, who is a very known name in the drift community, and good friends with him. So anyway, I am going to be watching the Pro 2s doing their thing and seeing what sort of caliper I need to reach before I know for a fact that I'll be able to do it. I'm pretty confident, I'm not gonna lie. My life is kind of like the whole Need for Speed aspect of things. Give a boy the right tools and he'll be able to do the job. But I'm kind of at that point. So anyway, I'm gonna be having a very chill day, but I'll keep you posted with how the British Drift Championship goes. And yeah, until then, see you guys in a bit. So I wanted to quickly just show you as to how I'm enjoying the British Drift Championship. I think I'm doing it right. Got the bagels on. Oh, not in the bowl. Bagels on. Almost burnt. We're sound. It's the way I like it. And we're almost finished with this. The qualifying is going pretty well so far. There's only been one person that's gone off so far, and it wasn't that major. It was just into the first corner, which is a pretty tricky one to start off with in the first place, just because of how quickly you have to go into it and fast initiation and that. So yeah, I get it. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to watching it because I'm trying to focus on too many things at once, and my food's getting cold because I'm not eating it. So I should put it in the oven. Anyway, I'm gonna crack on. I'm gonna continue watching, and I'll see you in a bit. So just very quickly, I was having a look at the Corsa and its steering. So obviously the steering wheel is a bit not straight, which is where it should be. But on this side, it's as straight as a nut. So I think phones are slippery nowadays. So I think it's safe to say I'm going to need an alignment. As for the British Drift Championship, it's in the process of having a wee break. So I'm going to the shop at the moment just to go and get some munch and chill out for the rest of the day. Made myself a beautiful breakfast this morning. Hopefully it's here, but it's been a good day so far. Looking forward to tomorrow getting cleaned up and getting everything set up for the BMW. Hey. I think if you know what that means, you'll know. Way. I'm turning indicators on for a little weird. See if we can get in here one shot with one hand. Simple enough. Plenty of room for a Corsa D. Hey. Yep, I ran over something. Sound. Let's pull out to pull it back in. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently Sunday morning, around about 11:30, 11:45. Today, I'm going to be clearing out the garage and just prepping it for when the BMW comes back, and so that I can work on the Corsa B. This morning, I had a very not clever moment, and I totally forgot that these logs were here, and the inevitable happened, and I finally fucking hit one, which was kind of annoying. That bit I can cover over, that bit maybe not so much, but I'm gonna see what I can do about that. It is what it is. It's just kind of a nuisance to say the least, especially with a Phase 1 GSI body kit. Well, say that, body kit, front bumper. But I can always change that out, or at least use body filler and that, and just kind of fill it in, which is sound. Which is kind of one of those things that additional extras that I'll have to do to make this car perfect. But to be honest, I think the whole car was going to get somewhat of a redo at some point anyway, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But as you can see, we finally have a completely open spot for the first time since I moved in this place, so I can actually finally see it all in its fine glory. I always said that I planned on filling this hole in at some point or another, but I've just not really had time to kind of make it a priority. There's always been something else needed more. For example, these needing new tires. These ones I definitely know won't hold air, so I'll need to find a solution for those, but it means I'll have 4 spares to go to Driftland, which is a huge bonus. So, plan of attack today, safe to say, get this place all cleaned up. Over the time that I've had it, it's just kind of gotten progressively worse, especially with the wind coming in and taking kind of everything with it, at least all the small molecules. I need to organise. I haven't properly done it since I kind of moved in, and all my rubbish in the corner, which doesn't exactly look great. I've not really found a decent alternative for that yet, but I'm thinking that if I shift enough stuff, I might actually just use this box. I took it from my old job and I never really thought of anything to do with it, so I think that'll probably end up in being some sort of skip bin. But yeah, I'm just gonna get rearranging, organising, and we're gonna get sorted. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get sorted quick enough that I'll be able to start watching the Pro 1s go round in the British Drift Championship, as it is Sunday and all the Pro 2s went round yesterday, so big events happening today, so looking forward to it. Unfortunately, just with how early the competition was in comparison to the last couple of years, a lot of drivers haven't been able to go out and make it, which is unfortunate, but it is a time scale that is left, and they kind of do it just like me, very last minute. So not as big a turnout to that as was originally hoped, but there's still a hell of a lot of decent drivers out there. So I know that Archie Harmer had a blown engine, and he managed to do an all-round 7-hour trip to go and get a new one, and unfortunately that one just didn't kick enough punch, unfortunately, so he's out of competition. I know that my favourite driver, Ollie Silcock, in his PS13 with his original 1JZ, who had taken the engine out originally to put it into his GT86 that he's in the process of building, but unfortunately there wasn't enough time to get the chassis finished, so he's transferred it back into his PS13, so he's going to be absolutely ripping this weekend. Couldn't be more excited. Another 3 months until the second round, so hopefully manage to get that done. But anyway, back to our own stuff. We have a lot of stuff to kind of organise and get settled in here, because thing is that I know for a fact this is going to be my long-term place, so I kind of need to really get settled in here. I think what I want to do is actually start using this as a bench, or at least as an area for a bench. I already tried to see if that bench would sit kind of in between here, but obviously it's too long, and that's got shorter thingies for when the sheep were in here. So see, just kind of stuff blown out that's been mine, and just things getting, the wind is not kind down here, I'll tell you that much. When it comes hard. So obviously with the fact that the MGB GT is sitting here, I kind of don't really want to risk hitting that at any point while I'm working here, but I think I'll end up putting a sheet or dust sheet over it or something like that. I did actually think about putting the original bumpers back onto the car, just because of, obviously it fits the colors and that, but I just don't feel the original, you know, everything, to be honest. I just don't like it. So plan of attack, I'm gonna start organizing all this mess, and we're gonna see what I can end up doing with it, because there's a lot of opportunity for extra additional space in here that I'm just neglecting for the time being, which is annoying. So I know that I could fit another car in here, is the thing. I could actually probably fit 2 cars. Well, I could actually probably fit 3 cars in here if I really wanted to. But obviously with trying to use my space as wisely as I can, it's very difficult. So I think I'm gonna take a sec and have a proper think as to how I'm gonna organize this place, because as I say, this is a long term, so I want to get properly settled in, and I've never been able to since I got the BMW back. So now that it's out and I don't have anything to work on at the moment, I'm gonna crack on, see how we get on, and hopefully British Youth Championship starts really soon, so I'm gonna have that on the live feed, but I'm gonna get cracking. Whoop. Hello. So after a wee bit of time passed by, safe to say there's not really the most amount of progress being made. It just looks more like a bigger mess than what it was originally. Mainly because, one, I got a phone call, and two, because I've been watching the British Youth Championship and I should be paying more attention to this, but unfortunately I've been paying more attention to that. Just wanted to see how the pros would get on, especially with the fact that a lot of them unfortunately just haven't had cars ready or unable to attend or braking in practice, which is predictable. Unfortunately, it is the first round and it is somewhat inevitable, I guess. But I do want to talk about the conversation that I had on the phone. Now, it was from the guy that currently has the car. He wanted to get in touch with me to give me some clarification. He was giving me a lot more reassurance about the car, and the appearance of it is one thing, what's underneath is a completely other thing. He says it's incredibly straight and narrow, everything. Sure, there's a couple of bits of rust as expected from a 2001, not really surprised. So, but other than that, he says we're golden. So, with that being said, that essentially means that the chassis is clean. The chassis is straight and narrow, and he says that he's done a hell of a lot worse, and they are still on the road to this day. So I'm thinking about the long term and how the rest of the year is going to go. Because of that phone call and the reassurance I had, this could actually be a very, very realistic thing that I could potentially be at the competition for round 2 and maybe even round 1, which would be incredible. But we're gonna have to just take it at a time. After the phone call, I can tell you that it kind of changed my perspective and outlook on the car. And the thing is that the car might be getting used a wee bit longer than I had anticipated, shall we say? To the point that once everything slowly comes into place with regards to other thing off the channel, that there could be the possibility that we might be ordering an engine for it. But this is still stepping stone. I don't know. I kinda need just to take it into perspective and really think about it, because at the moment it's certainly taken a lot of weight on my shoulders. So with that clarification being presented, it's meant that there's a lot more opportunity, shall we say, for the future. And at this point, the not so distant future, which is mad. I can safely say that this is only good news. I'm kind of shell-shocked at the moment. What I'm thinking is we're gonna continue carrying on, and I'm gonna let this process go off in my head as to what I'm gonna do, or at least let our plan start verging, because it's looking promising. So with the fact that this place is not small, right? So I have from the front of the AMG all the way round, right? So I actually have quite a lot of room for what I'm paying for. So the one big issue with this place is mainly the storage area, just because it's just dumped, shall we say. And the thing is that I also know that I can shift about these machines. These aren't mine. This used to be vapor blaster and obviously a treadmill. Now, I'm gonna shift those two just behind that Corsa and just get them in there, and don't think it should be too much of an issue with John at least, but it means that I actually have ample amounts of room to potentially fit that thing in here, because I really need to have a good look around that Felicia, mainly because with the additional good news that I got over the phone with the boy that has the car, he also has a welder that he has recently updated, and he has one sitting to the side. So he has offered it to me, and it's safe to say I kind of need it. And I'm also incredibly thankful for this guy. He'll probably be making an appearance on this channel when I go and work on the car with him, but that'll be when we pick up the welder. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to continue shifting everything about. Is having a break for about an hour, so I'm going to use the time wisely and get all this cleared out, get these two shifted back there, and hope maybe shift, nah, I can't shift the MG, but I'm definitely likely to have a space, either enough, well, definitely enough for a car, whether it be that or just regular servicing cars. I could take this one and put it in here, or I could take, I don't know, I'm still thinking about it, but I definitely know that I need to get that stuff sorted. It's slowly coming together. I've got a couple of bits of wood that were just behind there, so I've now got essentially a crappy bench, but it's a bench for the time being. It means that I've got somewhere to actually keep all my stuff rather than on this, which is still useful, granted, and I'm going to use it, just better placement, should we say. Anyway, I also definitely still need to get this concrete in. This takes up so much space, and because of the fact that I can't use it, it's incredibly infuriating, because I could actually have a workbench coming down here, this whole place filled in, and then I could actually have maybe even two cars next to each other and then another car back there if this was concreted in. Worst case scenario, I could have this huge open area to work on a car, and car would just be about there. I could have a bench in between there, so I could work on that car and this car and that car. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to get much progress into that, just with everything else going on. I will get that done though at some point or another soon. Ready mix concrete, fill it in, you know, it shouldn't be too much of a hassle, safe to say, but yeah, one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day. I just need to chill out, as the boy says on the phone, and realize that things aren't actually that bad, which is what he essentially said on the car. So been too hard on myself for the longest time, so the list, what I thought was going to be about yay big, is actually about yay big. So for the time being, I'm going to crack on and get this kind of out the door, and hopefully she's no welcome anymore, but see you in a bit. Hello again, welcome back. The British Drift Championship is having a wee interval before the top four. The top competitors are just about to go into their final, so they're having a wee break, and safe to say I'm pretty set up, I'm pretty sorted, and not just with regards to my setup for watching the British Drift Championship, but also the whole garage. So I've made a lot of progress while kind of taking intervals and watching the British Drift Championship for the majority of the day, to be fair, but I still managed to make progress. If I was sitting on my flat, I certainly wouldn't have been able to make this progress, so it's better to watch it, enjoy it while I'm here, and being able to bask in the glory of what I've managed to achieve while just half-assing it, and this was genuinely half-assing it. So I've got all my parts kind of organised. This is all my valeting gear and that, but still waiting for a generator for that. But hopefully with the changes that are going to be happening drastically, hopefully soon, hopefully this week. I've been saying this week after week, but I've actually had word that it's almost a definite now. It's a case of just waiting on the last seal of the deal, and then big changes will be happening. So it's just a case of just waiting this last week with regards to my job, with regards to what's happening behind the scenes. With that being said, this place getting completely cleared out was kind of phase one. Just like in the last place, I set that place up so that it would do me temporarily. And when I moved in here, the BMW was getting so rushed to the point that I had no time to organize. So with a time scale as small as what I have, and when I'm working on my own, I just, you know, time slips when you're working and doing everything. So anyway, long story short, the place is now organized well enough so that I know where everything is. I just need to organize my tools and that, and just the last little bits here. Not really so much over here, just a wee bit, but valeting stuff is very well covered, or at least well enough anyway. All my pads in there, just all the spare parts that I have, all the power tools that I have. This will all get shifted a bit again, but it was just kind of making the room while I had it and see what we can make of it. And now that I've got a better idea as to what I can do with it, I mean, I'm pretty confident I could probably fit 2 cars in here. Just need to get those last 2 bits completely taken out. This is just all the crap, so it really needs to get binned. And this is, I have no idea, it's John's, but I will be very kindly asking, or at least pulling it out to put it in more of a convenient place for me. Because if I do actually want to make 2 cars come in here, which I'm thinking that I will, after this gets concreted in, I can make this whole section into a bench on its own and be able to keep tools and that, and little parts that I'll be able to just keep in the center, so I've got ability to work on both sides. But I mean, the MG gives it a pretty good idea as to what it's going to look like. I'm going to have a bay here and a bay here. The MG I'm not going to obviously shift. Once these 2 things are out of the way, I'll be able to actually buy a proper bench that'll go all the way along, hopefully, and make something out of it. Obviously this was just spare wood that I found back over there, and I've got a little a little part for just little overflow stuff, but I've got just a little, just slowly, whoop, keep forgetting about that little stump though. Anyway, everything's looking pretty in place. The only things that I'll need to do for the rest of the night are just shift these 2 bucket seats. I'm probably going to shift one because I do only have the Corsa, so I'm going to stick the bucket seat into the back of the Corsa, stick the radiator into the back of the Corsa, and maybe a couple of other little things that I find. But these are the last little bits that will be going either into the car or going to be getting some sort of use out of. The bucket seats, I know that for a fact that we will be making mounts for them, and we will be able to keep them or get them in the car. They're not the best bucket seats, but for what they are at the moment, they'll do. Gives me more stability that I would have if I was using the standard seats. So I think that's about it. It's almost 5 o'clock. I do have plenty to do, but I've just been so distracted with the BDC. Steve McConnell having a huge accident and not being able to, he caught a tire in the dirt and that, so he ended up just completely dragged them in. So he's out of competition, but Robbie Burgoyne, he is currently pretty much on the setting stone to just be at the top, as well as Oliver Barker, who is kind of relatively in the kind of same state that I'm in, who just works with a budget, works with what he can do, and big mad things. But hey, I'm gonna continue watching the BDC for the rest of it, and I'll get back to you afterwards. So while the BDC is on one phone, I just wanted to use this phone just to quickly come in here and say that the plans really do always change. They're never kind of in a straight cut. So with that being said, the car realistically doesn't need that much to get to a semi-professional level. And with that being said, I've just watched Oliver Baker on the British Drift Championship on Pro 1, battling for third and fourth. Now, to put this into perspective, Oliver Baker 2 years ago was just entered the SDC. He went on from winning the SDC or enough to the point where he got qualifying in Pro 2, did so well in Pro 2 that he then got jumped to Pro 1 in the space of 2 years. And he's about to come away with either third or fourth place in the British Drift Championship 2022. With the news that I received earlier on from the car being actually not as bad as I would believe, that everyone would believe, we're gonna be having a lot less to do and much more, be able to do a lot more. So this is pretty much how we're looking. Essentially, this is pretty much almost everything that we need to do to get the car performing well enough to go on to potentially win somewhat of a podium, enough to make the British Drift Championship at some point, probably next year, obviously. Maybe later on in the rounds. I know that the second round is quite later on in the year. There's quite a few Scottish Drift Championship events that happen in between that time. So there's a possibility. But we're not going to jump too far ahead of ourselves. We're going to take it easy and we're just going to work on this, pretty much this exact list. There is a couple of things to be added to this list, like reinforcement of the chassis itself and jacking points and whatnot, but I'll be talking to the gentleman that's got the car at the moment about that. So it's a lot shorter list than what I had thought, that I had ever thought. So that's fantastic. And the British Drift Championship resumes in 3 minutes. So definitely going to be watching the rest of that. Top 4 left. So it's going to be huge. So proud of Oliver for getting as far as he has, because I mean, if he isn't the inspiration to show that you can do it, and as both Mike said on the British Drift Championship broadcast, as commentators, you know, it's not impossible. You just have to have the right mindset, put your budget in perspective, and that's exactly where Oliver has come from. So I share a very, very similar very similar outlook on it, should I say. So I'm gonna watch the rest of this. It's been a pretty emotional weekend without the car. Not obviously without the car, like it's just been, this is normally when things kind of start either happening or not happening for me, is when it's over the weekend, whether it been working on the car or things in the background. So just a little insight as to what happens, you know, but definitely need to get her sorted for the rest of the year. I hope this wasn't all blurry the whole time that I was recording this, because that's going to be infuriating. So we have pretty much come to the end of the British Drift Championship and my weekend. Mainly because they worked intertwined with each other, and because obviously with the car going away, it was a perfect opportunity for me to watch it. So it was very enlightening, shall we say, just because I got to see a lot of the competitors in the first round, which a lot of them had teething issues, and a lot of them didn't end up making it, unfortunately, but it was still a really, really good round, especially for the first. So, and with that being said, I mean, I've kind of cleaned up my tools a wee bit, not really, but I think I can call this a day for in here anyway. It's been very progressive. I've got a puppy that really wants to be in that bush. I don't know why, but John unfortunately interrupted me when the last round of the British Drift Championship came in, so I didn't get to watch it all anyway, which is sad, but it just means that I'll get to watch it when I get home, which is great. So, but overall, I would safely say that it's been a pretty decent weekend, even without the car. It's getting cold, and I'm gonna leave it here. Very good progress made on the garage. Safe to say I'll definitely be able to get another car in here, and easy working space for car over there. So we're winning. We're coming into the beginning of the season for the Scottish Drift Championship, being on the 27th of April, I think it is. I think that actually might be the first round. This is starting to look a hell of a lot more likely that we'll actually manage to make it to the Scottish Drift Championship with the same BMW that was sitting here, which I genuinely didn't think I was going to be able to say until I got that bit of vote of confidence. But as I've said, I'm going to head home. I'm going to focus on tomorrow's comings and what's going to be happening with the whole employment aspect of things. So it's going to be a fun week. Looking forward to next weekend, but till then, I'll see you guys then. Bye.
Yeah.